Welcome to our presentation on cloud computing.
Welcome to our cloud computing video. Today we'll be discussing the basic fundamentals of cloud computing. We hope you guys like our video and leave us some comments at the end. Thank you. The cloud is a network of servers, and each server has a different job. Some are used to run applications while others are used to deliver a service. For example, Adobe just moved its Creative Suite to the cloud. This means instead of being able to buy Adobe from the store, you have to buy it from the website, which is now cloud-based. And every update or upgrade will be given through this cloud. Other servers are strictly used for storage. Thanks to cloud computing, you can almost access your files from anywhere in the world thanks to the shared pool of computing resources. This includes storage, networking, servers, and applications. With whatever deployment you choose, each comes with 5 essentials. The first one is on-demand self-service. This allows users to automatically access the service without help from another person. Second, we have broad network access. This is the ability to connect to the service from any everyday device that is connected to that network, like your laptop, smartphone, or tablet. Third, we have resource pooling. Network and storage and computing is shared with multiple consumers. Fourth, we have rapid elasticity. This allows you to increase or decrease the size of your cloud based off of demands. Fifth, we have metering. This tracks the level of usage or the cost of usage month to month. As mentioned earlier, these are the three most common types of deployment. We have public, private, and hybrid cloud. There's also a fourth, community cloud deployment, but we're not going to get to that in this video. First, we have public cloud deployment. As some of you may have guessed, a public cloud is open to the public. Everything is ran and operated by a cloud service provider. Example of these cloud service providers are Google, Microsoft Azure, and Amazon. There's a couple more, but these are some of the most popular ones. Second, we have private cloud deployment. A private cloud is provisioned for a single organization, as the infrastructure is owned, ran, and operated by the organization behind its own firewall. Private clouds are tend to be used more with companies that have very critical data. Third, we have hybrid cloud deployment. A hybrid cloud allows users to access private and public cloud resources from a single management environment. A perfect example of this would be a company using a private cloud behind their own firewall to protect their most private critical data, and then using a third party company like Google or Amazon to protect the rest of that data.
So I'm going to touch on the service models of cloud computing. There are several out there, but the most popular are software as a service, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and then this last one is really not legitimate, but since I'm passionate about cybersecurity and I wanted to do something a little bit different, I'm going to talk about ransom as a service. So you can see here I have a graphic of infrastructure as a service is the big cloud, and then platinum and software kind of flank it. But we're really what it's showing is that all three services, although they are different, they kind of share some of the same characteristics, such as on-demand self-service and measured services, rapid elasticity, and it's a broad network and resource pooling. So let's touch on software as a service. Now, software as a service, according to Computer Business Review, is an on-demand application that's hosted and managed by a service provider. Some of your service providers are Oracle, SAP, Adobe, and probably one of the most popular, of course, is Microsoft. They offer Office 365 or Microsoft Online. And so software, you rent the software rather than purchasing it, and it's on a subscription basis. So what that means is you get automatic updates, upgrades, and as a user, you don't have to go and find those upgrades and download them and install them because Microsoft takes care of all that for you. Also, one of the things that's unique or that's great about software as a service is, for instance, if I'm not in front of my PC at work, but I need to check my calendar to see if I have a meeting coming up, I can use my login and password for the online services and log in from my phone, for instance, and see what my calendar looks like. I don't have to wait until I get in front of my actual work laptop to see what my day is going to be like. So let's talk about infrastructure as a service. Now, according to Techopedia, infrastructure as a service is a service model that delivers computer infrastructure on an outsourced basis to support enterprise operations. The key word right there is outsource. So, as a company, just say you're a sales organization, you're outsourcing your servers, your network components, hardware, and sometimes software is included in that. And all you have to do is focus on selling. You do it with companies like Amazon Web Services or OpenStack, and you pay on a per use or utility computing basis, and meaning that just think of how you pay your electricity bill. You use a certain amount of electricity each month, and you pay based on that amount you use. And you're also sharing that electricity grid with other customers. Same thing in infrastructure as a service. You're sharing infrastructure with other companies, but you're only paying for your part of it. So if you're using a certain amount of servers or a certain amount of data space, then that's how much you're responsible for paying, and that's how it's computed. So let's touch on platform as a service. Now, platform as a service is similar to infrastructure as a service. And remember, I told you some of these service models kind of overlap each other. So, with platform as a service, you get storage space, servers, network components. But in addition to that, you also get development tools, business intelligence services, and database management systems. And you also get testing, deploying, managing, and updating of that software. So as a company, you don't have to worry about managing those software licenses, which really can be a pain. And you can just focus on whatever your niche is, and leave the IT services as platform services to companies like Salesforce and Amazon Web Services. And of course, the real popular one right now is Windows Azure. So ransomware as a service, it's definitely not a legitimate business, but I wanted to touch on this because I'm very passionate about cybersecurity. And I was speaking with the company I work for, our cybersecurity person, and we had a conversation about this. And right now, on the dark web, there are cyber criminals who are out there offering a service to the everyday normal Joe like me, and they'll say, "Hey, we can infect someone or a company's uh, network for you. All we want is a cut." And this is really happening right now on the dark web. So victims typically of ransomware get infected by ransomware by opening up emails with attachments or pop-ups, and they're asking that you pay those that ransomware, typically over Bitcoin, so it's untraceable. And what I learned also is that they ask for small dollar amounts, usually like $300 or $400. And the reason why is because you're likely to pay that instead of going to the police or the FBI. You just want to pay it and get it out the way and be done with it. And also, I was taught that that possibly is illegal for you to pay ransomware. So just be careful if that happens. And if you don't think it can happen to you, just look at the last bullet point here. Attacks went from 4 million in 2015 to 638 million in 2016. So ransom as a service is real, and just be careful. So there are several advantages of cloud computing. It's cost efficient. You don't have to keep buying software and disks. Uh, it's all there. The provider will do upgrades and enhancements for you. There's unlimited storage. Just think, for instance, Dropbox. If you guys have ever used Dropbox, you can put as many pictures as you want out there, and it's not tying up memory on your phone or your PC. And for bigger companies, if you use a lot of data, you have a lot of data stored, you don't want that data right there on hand, or you want several different ways it's stored. In just case something happens, service provider can back up that data for you, and then if something happens, they can bring it back up and restore the data to your PCs immediately. Uh, and it's just easy to access. Remember, I talked about the Office 365, how you can access your work PC, possibly from your phone or any other PC, at least your emails and your calendars. And then it's just quick deployment. If a service provider wants to put out an enhancement, they don't have to go to each individual computer and do it. They could put it out on the server, and bam, that server sends it out to all those PCs in that network. Now, of course, there are going to be critiques of anything, and so some of the disadvantages of cloud computing, people feel, are security. They feel like storing the information in the cloud could make it vulnerable to attacks because one thing is criminals know that, hey, these cloud companies, they have all this information stored in one place, so there's likely to be attacks on them. The cloud companies just have to have their security up to par to fend off the attacks, but there's definitely a likelihood of it happening. This concludes our presentation.